We are told to work hard to become independent and successful in life, but we're also told to give joyfully and not to cling to the things we work so hard to get. God reminds us that everything is His. We are entrusted on this earth with time, talent, and treasures. In this podcast, we will learn to live as Jesus teaches.
Hey, welcome back to the Entrusted by God podcast. I'm Steve Wood. I'm the lead pastor at Mount Pisgah Methodist Church, joined by Dwayne Wood, Ray Bachman, and Joel, our producer. And we are honing in this podcast on what it means to live the life that God has entrusted us, but to be mindful of what it means to care for ourselves. So the cultural term would be self-care. All right, what are you doing for self-care? And, we go to the gym and we have quiet time. We get quality time if we're married with spouse, and we watch what we eat and so on and so forth. But from a biblical paradigm, there is a treasure of concepts that God gives us all the way from the very beginning. So let's just start with that before we get to Psalm 62. And on the seventh day, God rested. Well, it seems to me as if it were good for God to rest every 7 days, that there would be some rhythm, since we were created in the image of God, for us to do rest. Sabbath rest is an interesting concept. The Old Testament concept of a Sabbath day is one that is largely viewed by our culture as antiquated and outdated. But yet there are medical studies and all kinds of interesting non-biblical evidences of the benefit of having a Sabbath on a regular cycle. So, I began with Psalm 62:1. My soul finds rest in God alone. That is so powerful. I mean, it's one thing to sit at the lake. It's another thing to go to the mountains. I love going to the gym, getting on the elliptical or the bike or whatever, and just kind of a non-distracted time. For those of you who may be listening who are moms, just look, 30 minutes or an hour of peace can feel like a gift. But the reality of it is, a part of this life that God has entrusted unto us is to work and to be diligent and to be responsible and to be on point, kingdom-minded. But God calls us to be just as kingdom-minded about this concept of rest. How do you guys practice the presence of God in the practice of a Sabbath or rest, self-care, whatever term you want to use?
I think that's an excellent point because, Pastor, we live in such a high-powered society where it's at the speed that we can't even keep up with. I just remember when I was little, boy, a Saturday seemed like a whole week long. You get up, have breakfast, watch cartoons. I mean, it just seemed like the whole day became a week. And now a day just goes by so fast because we live in a microwave world. So, yeah, I mean, I'm near the tail end of my career. So I've started taking Fridays off, and I know not everybody can do that. But that has been part of a Sabbath where I just kind of chill out. I unplug from work. Sometimes I'll spend the day with Vicky, sometimes with some other guys. But it's just therapeutic to me. Like you said, I've met guys, I'm about to turn 67 in a couple months. I've met guys my age that, oh my gosh, just the stress of life and the fact that they're grinding it out still in their later years, it takes its toll on their bodies and their minds and their soul. And sometimes I feel like, oh my gosh, life's been hard. And so there's something about this rest or Sabbath that really makes not only a mental impact, but a physical impact in our lives, because stress just does its toll on our bodies as well as our soul and our spirit. So, yeah, and, of course, Sundays are a time to really focus in on Christ. And, I love Sunday school. Dwayne does an unbelievable job teaching Sunday school and the interaction. And then church, Pastor, you're awesome in the pulpit. And then sometimes Vicki and I will go out afterwards, for lunch or something and spend some time. But yeah, I think the Sabbath has been pushed under the rug in today's world because we are such at a fast pace. And do you think God needed a rest on the seventh day? He didn't. He did it to show us, hey, wake up. And I won't get into Chick-fil-A, the fact they take off every Sunday and they're the most productive fast food company in the country. But again, there's something to this Sabbath that we need to pay attention to, and that's why we're talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. The Sabbath concept is a blessing. Jesus told us that the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So right there we see right away that, so we practice it. I practice it in concept, Ray, similar to you, slowing down a little bit. Sunday is usually a day, but I run into a lot of people who get tied up in legalistic knots. We are not Old Testament Jews. We are not under the law.
Right.
There were people tell me, I observed the Sabbath. Well, really? Do you look at what the penalties are for just one minute unobservance of the Sabbath? Not very good. They take you out and stone you. So the concept of the Sabbath to me is that God can take care of us even as we rest in him. He's going to provide. That was part of the concept of the Old Testament Sabbath, to let the nation of Israel and everybody around them know that, hey, these people are going to take a day and do nothing, and I'm going to provide for them in 6 days what everyone else produces in 7. And we see this concept of the Sabbath is made for man, not for man for the Sabbath, in that it's beneficial to us. It's wonderful, but don't get hung up on, well, I can't, to my Jewish friends, I can't push an elevator button because it's the Sabbath, or I can't do this or can't do that. Let's realize that it is really time for you to reflect and to rest, take a nap sometimes, and you can take a nap in the Lord. I firmly believe that. It's like, Lord, I need...
Take a nap in the Lord.
Yes, I need rest.
That sounds like something I'd be interested in.
Lord, I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to take a nap, and I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to do this.
That is something else. Hey, there's only one day. Joel and I have to churn it out on Sundays.
Sure.
And so Sunday's not really a Sabbath for us, and God gets that.
Right.
But on Saturday, it is such a day of rest and renewal. Man, I really look forward to Saturdays. It doesn't matter to me if it's rainy or sunshine or whatever, but it's taken me a long time to move beyond all of my addictions to busyness.
Right.
And so Saturday at our house becomes phone stack day.
What is that?
Okay. That's where you stack your phones
Oh, wow.
over in
that.
the corner over there by my desk. And we actually spend time with one another and with the Lord.
That's pretty cool.
And you're going to be shocked at what I'm going to tell you. There are times we go 8, 10, 12 hours and never looked at our phones.
That's impressive.
And the world keeps turning. I mean, the world has not fallen apart because I didn't check my phone or the ESPN score. I mean, I could tell you all the senseless things I do on my phone. But the other thing is I don't feel like it's just free time. Taking a nap in the Lord is a wonderful thing. Saturday is a big day for me because I get more intentional time to pursue the heart of God. So I may spend 2 hours or more just in my devotional and journaling time. And that is so renewing. And, if I can write down all the things that I feel like need to be addressed, God has the most wonderful way of assuring me, when have I ever let you down, addressing anything that needs to be addressed.
It's kind of like, Pastor, it's kind of like recharging our batteries. Isn't it?
No, that's
exactly.
absolutely
It
what
really
it's
is.
like.
And so,
Absolutely.
and again, we always think of the Sabbath as a full day, but it can be parts of Sabbath all through the week. Like I know sometimes if I don't have an appointment till noontime or whatever, Vicki and I'll have an extended time in the morning, just catching up with each other, reading the Word, praying. So I think Sabbaths can come in snippets. I know you said Saturdays is your main Sabbath, but I think you can find snippets of Sabbath throughout the week if you can't necessarily block out the whole day, so to speak. But it's recharging your batteries, because let's face it, when our batteries run low, we're vulnerable to just going down a bad path of bad attitudes, and we react harshly sometimes instead of thinking things through. So just the fact that when our batteries wear down, we can't really exhibit a lot of the fruits of the Spirit because we're kind of running on flesh and not spirit. So I think this whole recharging on a Sabbath or during Sabbath times is so important. Otherwise, we'll just wear ourselves out, and we've all been there, and it's not a good place to be.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at this a little different perspective for younger men in particular. But when Joyce and I first got married, I was in college and I was a Division I athlete. And so I had a full-time job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a
Seriously.
full-time student. And so there were long stretches where we were not together. And then after I graduated, I decided, I need to go get a graduate degree. And so I go to school full-time and I work full-time. And so for this long period of time, but thankfully, one of my mentors who's no longer with us, I never met him, but I read and listened to his teaching, Larry Burkett.
Yeah.
Larry told us, said, 48 hours, guys. If you can't get it done in 48 hours a week, you don't need something's wrong. And so I kind of drove a stake in the ground. And was I legalistic about it? No, but I drove a stake in the ground. And so when there were times, I would say, this is my office hours. Here's when I'm on, and this is when I'm off.
Yeah.
And I think that was a wonderful self-care thing. And it was wonderful for my family. My wife and my children got to see more of me by adhering to that. And so much so that a couple of my kids, they didn't quite realize, the way the thing with work and Dad, but Dad was always able to be at their ball games. Dad was able to coach their ball games. Dad was able to do these things.
So it gives
By
you
building margin.
Yeah.
Building margin.
And so the margin gives you presence, both with the Lord and with your family and your friends. So we just commend unto you today that psalm. Hey, it's a simple verse, Psalm 62:1. My soul finds rest in God alone. What a promise. And try that. Hey, Google, nap in the Lord. We're not talking about a dirt nap either.
I love it.
Google nap in
it.
the Lord, see what you come up with. But we commend unto you that God has a plan, and it's a lot better than even the 1-minute manager. Trust me. And God's faithful to lead us. Hey, if we can help you, reach out to us at mountpisgah.org. And until we meet again, may God bless you richly. Thanks for being on today.
Join us next time as we continue to learn to live with open hearts and open hands as followers of Jesus Christ.